Hello viewers, Super GT here. Now we've had, of course, the new Tokyo Expressway track added to Gran Turismo Sport. Now you've probably seen the other one, where I raced it plenty of times. Now I'm going to show you the other configuration, which includes the Chicane of Death, or the new one at least, the Asian Chicane of Death. Here it is, as we come in, massive bumps. Look at the size of those bad boys. And you can see here, this is a demonstration of things to come. Get a penalty for going wide, and then I annihilate someone by coming back onto the track and get another 5-second penalty. So this is just a taster of possible things to come. What we're looking at right here is my qualifying laps. We've just gone across the start line. This is turn 1 here. Now, in a similar fashion to the inner loop, so this is the outer loop. So in many ways it's very similar to the inner loop in the sense that we have the pit lane, we have a shared pit lane, so both tracks use the same pit lane, which is just down here, and it makes the track unusual in the sense that the pit lane is like halfway through the lap rather than on the main straight. So there's the pit lane on the left, a very awkward entry into an underground car park. So we go through that hairpin. Normally on the inner loop you go up to the right hand side there, but we're going to go to this straight instead, which isn't straight at all, but it is flat out. And then come up this causeway here, looking for that 50 board overhead, and we're into the turn very nicely, and then you're going to come down into the Chicane of Death, which is here. Difficult chicane, very hard to get right. You do have to maximise those curbs, but at the same time that really does unsettle the car, and of course on lap 1 you can only imagine the carnage that's going to happen there as we come through for a decent lap, not the best, as we come across the line, which is here in a 133.2, which puts us 12th, 1.2 seconds off the lead. Even third place was half a second off. But before we start the race, of course, this is an FIA race, let us roll the intro.
He's actually on down 16, so it's just
It's not going well for
it's not going well for me.
Oh, yeah.
Same off him apparently though.
Oh,
This is the way the drivers actually drive.
Jeb's in the lead, by the way.
oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, it's all working. Oh, it's all good.
Anyway,
Is 2 seconds too much time to make up? He can't make up 2 seconds in the final lap, can he?
I think he just needs to first accelerate a bit harder.
Now to it's James.
Right, that's great advice.
You're second. Be number 1. Be number 1.
So I've now recruited KSI Olajide BT as my race engineer for the unreal advice that he can provide, and which will no doubt propel me to victory. So here we go, starting from 12th, 13 laps around the Tokyo Expressway outer loop. Let's see what we can do. It's round, what are we on? Round number 3, I think, of the manufacturer's season. So let's see what we can do. Up behind the Lexus, up behind many cars indeed. And this track can, I mean, there are some really good overtaking opportunities. First of which we will get to just down at the bottom of this hill, which is this big hairpin. So the same hairpin that you see in the inner loop, and I've gone really deep, a little bit too deep. And we're going to have to filter back in as we do. In fact, getting a good run out of the result. But everyone here is going to be in the slipstream. See just how close it is. So we are building up, of course, to the entry into the Chicane of Death. So the original Chicane of Death is in Croatia at Dragon Trail. But this is a new portal to the Shadow Realm, which has opened up in the capital of Japan, in Tokyo. As we come up the hill then, into the nice long right-hander, you see just how crowded it is. There's about 8 of us here. It's going to get messy, no doubt, as we go in. Got Porsche on my left-hand side, going into the chicane. He's going to bump everyone on. I've been handed a 3-second penalty out of nothing. Someone is spinning around then, recovering. Aston Martin's slow, and someone else there, Mustang, very slow. So I've got given a penalty for no real reason, and gained actually 3 positions. Make that 4 as we go past the Lexus, who's also involved in some sort of altercation through that final turn / the Chicane of Death. So up into 8th. More contact going on here with the Subaru and the Nissan GTR fighting for Japanese supremacy are the Japanese manufacturers there in Tokyo, in Japan here, and eventually the Nissan GTR comes out on top. So up into 7th, and we're going to have to serve that penalty here. So the penalty line a little bit different here, as I'm going to get overtaken by 3 people, and the Aston Martin somehow recovers that slide from a 90-degree angle, quite unusual, and the Subaru getting a 4-second penalty for his troubles. So the penalty seeming a little bit iffy, should we say. So the Subaru now going up to the inside of the Lexus, gets the job done. He moves up a position into 6th place. Coming down, are we going to get a repeat of the last lap? It's not quite as crowded as it was. We've got a yellow flag though, someone has had an incident. And yes, there he is. It is my fellow Porsche driver. So we gained another position. And it's going to be one of those races, I think, where stay out of trouble and you may well just have a very good result. And so far, despite having that 3-second penalty, I have largely stayed out of trouble. So no other large incidents to report of. Up the inside into 6th place. Get the job done. We can follow through this Subaru, who has a penalty, so we should be going past him once we get to the bottom of the hill, just around this left-hand corner, and get to that penalty line. So the penalty line a little bit different because it's at the end of a straight. Most tracks have them at the start, which really does kill you in terms of time lost. And you see there, it's not actually going to be too bad because it does actually need to slow down anyway for that hairpin, so you're not losing quite as much time as you normally would. Up into 5th though, that's a decent return for the opening stage of the race. This is halfway through lap 6 now, and we're getting passed by a Mercedes on the outside. Well, we're going to go into the pit lane, go in for the first, presumably of 2 stops. So I saw some people go in the lap before I did, so I thought, okay, we're going to go for a 2-stop here, mainly because you don't lose much time at all in that pit lane, a very short pit lane, so the time loss is very, very short. So if there's going to be any track where you can do a 2-stop, it's probably going to be this one. So going through the final turn, the Porsche up ahead, who had a mistake earlier in the race, getting all out of hand, and once again, I tried to go over to the right hand side and well, again, just got a little bit cosy, going to the back of him. He actually got a 5-second penalty for that, which was really harsh, really harsh, and he actually backs off and lets me go, even though it was just a mistake really. He didn't really mean to do to block me off like that. He's just kind of getting the car out of control, probably on the last legs on his tyres. So another person into the pit lane, another 2 coming out. Really awkward exit of the pit lane there onto the main straight. As you come out of that corner, you're naturally going over to the left-hand side, which is in line with that pit lane. So it can get a little bit awkward there. But we just about avoid each other this time around. Tucked firmly into the slipstream of the Lexus now. Thinking about going the long way around there probably would result in my imminent death. So we're just going to back out there and potentially go for the move up the hill into the big braking zone instead, which is probably a slightly safer place. Later on the brakes, although probably not late enough, we're going to go side by side through the turn, coming down towards the chicane of death, side by side. Which one of us is going to bail and give up? It's going to be him. He's on the outside, probably the most sensible thing to do. So I'm up into 5th, 7 seconds off of 4th at this point, albeit we don't quite know the strategies of all the different players at this point here. So I see a couple of guys here, guys in 3rd and 4th, the Germans, go into the pit lane for their 2nd stop. So I'm going to go in 1 lap later. I haven't really made use of these tyres fully, so we're going to go in at halfway through lap 10 and rejoin in 9th. So eventually this Mercedes does get momentum on me, but a little bit further round, you can see here, he needs to get back past him, and at this point he just bails out. He just completely backs out. I think he realises we're on different strategies, we're at different points of our races, so there's very little point in fighting and losing time. So he's just going to let me go, realising that I've just come out of the pit lane. I've got fresh tyres, I'm just going to come back past him anyway. It's probably the most sensible thing I've seen in this whole race. And eventually, well, it wasn't enough. I came quite close to catching up with 7th, but ultimately still 1.7 seconds away. So I finished 8th ultimately, which was okay given I started 12th, I suppose, but still could do a lot better than that. And the strategy wasn't quite right. So this time in qualifying, the qualifying time wasn't much better, 1:33.1, literally only a 10th faster than I managed previous. But luckily, I suppose, I qualified 7th this time around, that's just the way it goes. I guess the other drivers in this lobby weren't quite as good, or they made more mistakes. So we're starting a little bit higher up this time around, and we can avoid a large portion of the trouble that we experienced on the first lap of the previous race. Because obviously the further back you are, the more to the middle, to the back you are in the race at the start, you're just going to lose so much time on that first lap. You see here, with the faster players, you can really just stretch out the race very early and try to get away from the trouble in the middle to the back of the pack. So into the hairpin, up behind the Lamborghini, and we're just going to get absolutely annihilated into the wall. So someone clearly forgetting which button it is to brake and completely just annihilating not only me but a few others as well. So unfortunately we've gone from 7th down to 14th as we come back up again. So all this talk about trying to get away from the pack, well, I've just been firmly put back into it as we now come down towards the Shadow Realm entry point in Japan, coming into the chicane. We're going to back out nicely, just go through a single file and actually I get a full leap of air there. I was fully off of the ground, and my suspension and the spine of my driver no doubt in about 1,000 pieces right now. So over the line, that's the end of lap 1. So obviously an absolute disaster of a lap to go down from 7th to 14th. We've got plenty of work to be done. I suppose we can just go try and fight back as much as possible and try to recover some sort of dignity here. Delta Juliet Mike with an incident. Rob Speed getting a penalty, so the two Mercedes drivers turning into Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberger, Barcelona 2016 by the looks of it. So he's gonna serve his penalty, as is this Viper driver here, and this Mercedes is going to come flying out of nowhere with a absolutely uncalled for, well, ridiculous assault on the Audi driver out of nowhere. Absolutely slams him to death at the hairpin. So just resisting this attack from the Viper, keeping 10th for now. So we've recovered some positions on lap 2, courtesy mainly of penalties and people just sending each other to the realm. So we're through the chicane this time, squirming a little bit on the exit, but we keep it under control, just enough to keep going and keeping our position. So a little bit later on, and again another yellow flag, so plenty of victims here. So the Lamborghini this time around, he got it all out of shape coming out of the chicane, and he's facing the wrong way, doing a 90-point turn just to try to get that car facing the correct way. So now, firmly in the slipstream of my fellow 911, looking for the inside, it kind of just narrows up there as you go slightly to the right, and it just blocked me off in time, so there's no way through. You have to be a little bit more patient here. Just following through this section. This really is not an overtaking section. Just try to get yourself into a good position, get a good run out of this turn here, and then hopefully tucking that slipstream down this hill towards the hairpin, which is probably the best overtaking opportunity on this racing circuit. 17 turns in total here, but this is probably the best of the bunch. So we're going to skip forward a lap there in case you didn't notice, and we can see two people coming out of the pit lane, so Jacques and Visual Crazy. So they're going for their 2 stops once again. So I tried the 2 stop last time around, and I came to the conclusion that probably the 1 stop was the quicker strategy, so I'm going to go for that. Now, so they've just come out, and in a similar way to the Spaniard in the previous race, I'm not going to fight with them too much, knowing that they're on fresh tyres on a different strategy. And this is a little bit further round at the end of, halfway through lap number 6, and now the Viper's going to get through courtesy of a mistake. So you can see again a couple of people going into the pit lane. I've got really, really bad tyres at this point here, but we're going to have to go through one more time. Now, of course, 13 divided by 2 is 6.5 or 6.5, and we are now halfway through the 7th lap, which is 6.5 laps. So we are putting exactly halfway through the race, because of course the pit lane is halfway through the lap, which makes it a little bit unusual. So we are done then for our one and only pit stop of the race. We're going from here to the end, just really trying to manage our tyres and our dignity and not getting sent to the realm. So just pulling away here, we've got Delta Juliet Mike, so he's got a run on us. Not much I can do about this really. He's got the slipstream too. He's going to go through. There we go, on the left hand side. Not really a chance of fighting that one around the outside there. we can come back at him, so tuck back into that slipstream. Such is the length of the straight, someone can go past you and you can go back past them. It is that long. Up the inside we go, late on the brakes, and we're just going to edge him wide, and he's kind of he goes along with it. He plays ball, and we go up position back into 12th. So plenty of work to be done here. Some people still have to go in for their second stop. Scanning the map, 1 and 2, first and second are quite a long way ahead. Then there's a gap to 3rd and 4th, and then just ahead quite a few people, as we can see here. So I'm behind a pair of Vipers, and braking a little bit early, while we get through the turn okay. And again, another bit of contact as we come down towards the chicane of death. The green Viper there with a violent swerve at the last minute. Thinking about going around the outside, it's really just not the best place to go for a move. That chicane it quite simply is single file. You just don't really do anything else. So looking up the inside then, with a superior run, unfortunately I don't have the slipstream, so the Vipers almost in a way helping each other with the toe. So I can't quite make the most of that run on the exit of that final turn. Now up the inside here, I'm just a tiny bit too late on the brakes, and I've just tapped him wide, and I'm going to get a penalty for that. Let's have a look. Yes, there we go, 5 seconds. I've completely messed up my race, because I could have easily been in a really good position here. I would have been right up behind this guy, and he's going to get a penalty as well. So I would have been up into 7th quite cleanly, but now I'm going to have to serve a 5-second penalty courtesy of that mistake. I'm going to lose time. Let's see how much I lose here. So in 8th at this point, 4 people go past, back down to 12th, and at this point, oh my god, I flipped this guy around. I was ghosted here. I'm inside him, and then while I'm inside him, I come out of the ghost and just completely spin him around. What the hell happened there? I was perhaps a little bit over-reliant on the ghosting, but it turns out I'm an MLG rammer and I need to be banned immediately. But anyway, up behind the Hyundai, proper Ricer-mobile, that thing, as we go past him through the chicane and leave plenty of space, and we get the job done. So still in 8th actually, a couple of those guys must have just gone into the pit lane. It wasn't long though before he came back at me. This is lap number 10 now. Bit of contact on the way through, but I think I was on the back foot anyway. So he retakes his position there, down into 9th at this point, with only 3 laps left to go once we negotiate the chicane and then the final turn. So the race is coming to its conclusion, coming towards the latter stages, and you see here just struggling through the chicane actually for grip. So coming into the hairpin now, lap number 12, so pretty much a lap and a half left to go at this point here. Still in our 9th, and actually the Hyundai, I couldn't quite spot what happened there, but it's just going really slow. There might have been damage. That's the only reasonable explanation. He might have made contact with someone through that hairpin. But eventually, on the final lap, it's now really just a matter of trying to keep that 8th position and get to the end without running out of fuel. We've only got 2% of fuel left and probably about a third of a lap left to go. So we've got the Audi on our left hand side here, who has the superior momentum. He's going to go around the outside, is he? Going to go late on the brakes, up the inside, and it's the only thing I could have done really to keep the position, just really go aggressive up the inside and park it on the apex. Obviously a little bit too late on the brakes and couldn't quite park it exactly where I would have liked. So a bit disappointing there. We're going to lose position at the end of the race, go down to 9th. So a really mixed race. I mean, the first race was kind of disappointing in a way, to not really finish as high as I could have done. And then this one again, I mean, I started 7th, and then obviously that hit at the start really cut our chances short. So there are the results. 28 seconds off the lead in the end, so quite a long way off. It was actually the Volkswagen GTI with the win. But that is the end of the video. Let me know your thoughts as always. I hope you enjoyed it. And I do enjoy the track actually. I really enjoy this new track. I think it's very good, just like the other configurations as well. But that is all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time. Goodbye.